To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning. Abortion rights protections and recreational marijuana, as you well know, both on the Florida ballot in November now as constitutional amendments. How will they fare? How might they shape big political races? I talked with Planned Parenthood and a Republican state lawmaker from our area, and of course our political analyst will be here. First, a review from Forrest Saunders in Tallahassee.
After more than a year of fighting in state courts, Florida's highest upheld the 15-week abortion ban Monday. Justices in a 6-1 decision said Florida's constitution lacked privacy protections for abortion access. It means a 6-week abortion ban will now take effect 30 days from April 1st.
Yes on 4! Yes on 4!
It was what abortion advocates feared. The Sunshine State now set to become one of the most restrictive in the country, with limited exceptions for rape, incest, and health.
The 6-week ban is basically a complete ban, and that represents a big problem because I would say that more than half of the patients do not have a clue that they're pregnant by 6 weeks.
But justices also delivered a path for change, greenlighting Amendment 4 for the November ballot. If 60% of voters approve, Florida returns to the point of viability, about 24 weeks, or, quote, when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's health care provider.
This is not a partisan issue. It's a health care issue.
That's Lauren Brenzel. She's heading the Yes on 4 campaign and says to expect a massive effort to get it approved as November nears. The focus? Simple.
So we want folks to know what's at stake. A yes vote on 4 is a vote to stop the 6-week abortion ban, but it's also a vote to remove politicians from this process more broadly.
Florida's anti-abortion advocates already mustering to fight back.
What Florida hasn't done is an outright ban on abortion with no exceptions. We begin when a child has a heartbeat.
Florida's House Speaker and lawmakers behind the 6-week ban now calling for Amendment 4's defeat. They consider the ballot initiative too broad and dangerous, warning it will eliminate nearly all of the state's current abortion restrictions.
This amendment rolls us back to the dark ages, before advancements in science and medicine, before Roe versus Wade. It is broad, it is far-reaching, it is dangerous. It is wrong for Florida.
But again, before we get to November, Florida undergoing a major change in abortion law in the next 30 days, going from 15 weeks to a 6-week abortion ban. And you have healthcare providers already getting ready to deal with the consequences of that. The big question, will politicians face consequences as well? We will find out soon. That's the latest out here at the state capitol. I'm Forrest Saunders reporting.
My first guest today, Laura Goodhue, Executive Director for the Florida Alliance of Planned Parenthood Affiliates. Reaction on Amendment 4's place on the ballot and the new restrictions in place, at least until that vote by Floridians.
Especially for us advocates who have been working with people who need access to abortion and facing extreme hardships already. In exercising, their rights to obtain health care, this was really big news for us. So one of the reasons that Planned Parenthood has been working with a coalition of folks to petition our government to amend our constitution to prohibit political influence in abortion care is because we've seen such dire cases of people who really need to access abortion beyond 15 weeks. And then what we saw also at the same time yesterday was those same justices that are allowing this referendum to go forward because of the language. They had to rule on the language. They also ruled, they upheld this 15-week ban, which essentially triggers a 6-week abortion ban within the next month, which is before most people know that they're pregnant. So this is going to cause really a public health crisis in Florida. It's going to be devastating for a lot of people. They're going to have to travel out of state for care, and it's really devastating news.
Why, opponents will ask, do they need to access abortion after 15 weeks?
Sure. And so really, people who have very wanted pregnancies, they can go terribly wrong. Either the health of the woman, or there could be a fatal fetal abnormality that is diagnosed later in pregnancy. In fact, it's not going to be diagnosed until after you have that anatomy scan around really 16 to 20 weeks. And so 15 weeks is the cutoff before that. And it really ties the hands of people to make these decisions that are best for themselves and their families. And so that's political interference at its worst. And so this ballot initiative that will go before the voters in November simply states that Florida government cannot interfere in abortion care. So wherever you fall on the spectrum of, supporting access to abortion or opposing it, the amendment simply says that government shouldn't be interfering in these decisions that are best made between a woman and her doctor.
We are already hearing from opponents of this ballot initiative this complaint. They're saying that the language will essentially allow an abortion all the way up to birth. Your reaction?
The plain language says that abortions can happen before, that the government cannot interfere in abortion care before viability.
Which is roughly around 24 weeks.
Which is right. Well, it's before, it depends. I mean, because weeks are really arbitrary. Every pregnancy is unique and different. And it depends on that healthcare provider. We think that doctors should be informing the laws that we pass, and politics should not be informing it. And so what we've seen really across the country is some dire cases of people who have not been able to access healthcare in time, whether that's for miscarriage management or a very wanted pregnancy that's gone terribly wrong because these laws are so arbitrary.
But again, to the question that's being raised by opponents that will allow abortion all the way up to birth, how do you respond to that critique and criticism of what they call, quote, an extreme measure?
So the plain language says that that the government can't interfere until viability, which means before a pregnancy can survive outside the womb, which is certainly not up until birth. That's definitely something that they are using to fan the extremism, but that's just absolutely a bold-faced lie, and it's not the case. The language would not permit that. Also, it also stigmatizes the process. And I think, we're talking about women who need access to care. Nobody is looking for an abortion later in pregnancy. This is for people who are facing really dire medical circumstances, and people that have been in that situation or know someone that's been in that situation. That's frankly very insulting and stigmatizing to people that are simply seeking health care.
Final message right now for what will be a most contentious debate on both sides.
Mm-hmm. I think that what we're asking is that government simply stop playing politics with our lives. We don't think that doctors or nurses should face criminal penalties for treating the patient in front of them. Floridians should be able to seek the health care that they need in consultation with their doctor, with their family, and not from their state representative.
My next guest, Treasure Coast Republican State Representative Toby Overdorf, opposing Amendment 4.
So I think it is open to a wide variety of interpretation, unfortunately. When we're talking about viability, and then we're saying, well, it's about 24 weeks, or maybe it's not, maybe it's more. That's an area that is really open for debate. We just had in the legislature a massive debate about personhood when it was associated with a civil liability for killing an unborn child through an action or through whatever it may be. That being said, I think, again, this is wide open to interpretation, and therefore I wouldn't say that I'm in agreement with the opinion of the Supreme Court that said that it was not a confusing language.
There are some of your colleagues who've already said they think the way it reads allows abortion up to birth. Is that a concern of yours?
It is. It's a very major concern of mine when we're talking about the potential now with medical technology being better and better and better, that in fact we may be able to save a child that is born extremely premature now. So I think it's something that I'm very concerned about, that you could literally abort a child that could potentially be living outside of the womb.
Supporters say that's a scare tactic. Supporters of the amendment say it's a scare tactic, excuse me.
Based on medical science, it's a reality.
Supporters of the amendment also say, listen, fundamentally what we're saying here is government and lawmakers should not have a role in this most portentous, involved, emotional decision for a woman. That should be between her and her doctor.
Well, I would say that they've invoked the government by putting in a constitutional amendment associated with this.
Expand on that thought. I mean, that fundamentally is what the debate boils down to, whether government should have any role in this. And the whole nation is going to be watching Florida. We've already seen front page coverage around the nation on this.
Well, the whole nation watched Georgia, the whole nation watched Ohio, the whole nation watched Texas, and a variety of these issues. And I am unapologetically pro-life with a child, and I believe that that life begins at conception. And as a result, I wouldn't be supporting this. That being said, the way that our government is set up, that people have the right to put in a constitutional amendment. They have the right to be heard in their legislature. And so I think that if they're saying a government shouldn't be involved, well, that's the antithesis of what our laws are for the land. And in fact, that if they would like to pass a constitutional amendment, that's exactly what their right is, and that's what they're doing right now.
Even if the amendment should pass, it needs a 60% voter approval. Should it pass, would that be the end of it in Florida?
So my insights are that, again, we're going back to the personhood issue. You're going back to what is viability. And as a result, I don't think it ends there. I think that you're going to see this drawn out in court. I believe that the amendment is poorly written. And as a result, I think you're going to have challenges to it, regardless of what happens, whether it passes or whether it fails.
Up next, our analysts, Brian Crowley and Isadora Rangel.